Hello and welcome to Uplift. And so we'll start with prayer. And just knowing right now that we are here today in the midst and knowing that God is all there is, that Spirit is the one truth, guiding, directing, leading, holding, and keeping us safe. Knowing that it is the truth of love that draws together all things, that it is our hearts open wide today that allow us to come together at a time of rest, a time of inspiration, a time of knowing that the truth of all things is the experience of the divine, is knowing and understanding that in each other we see and know the experience of life itself unfolding in a way that is magnificent, that is glorious, that is hopeful, that is in that true nature of goodness, that all things enrich and unfold in the experience of the divine. And so giving thanks for this, I know our time together today is amazing. And so just giving thanks for that, I simply let it be now, and so it is. And so today we're going to be talking about authenticity. And I came up with that, it just came to my heart that I would like to talk about authenticity because it's a word that comes up often in reading and in talks. I've been studying New Thought and self-help and those kind of subjects for many years, and it comes up often that to be authentic, and it's a really great theme and subject to learn about, because I always want to be truthful and let people know who I am, and I want others to be the same thing toward me. And so I've been thinking for the last couple weeks about being authentic and what does it mean. And I like the idea of doing that, and I think I am, and I think other people are to me. I know most people around me are authentic, and I started considering it more and more, and I thought, how much do I really know about being authentic, and what does it look like? It's a great practice, and I know that I've learned more about it over the years, and so I thought, well, I just want to dig into this subject a little more, and so I'd like to tell you about that today, because what I really found is that I don't really know that much about it, and so I would like to share with you what I found out today. When I looked up authenticity in the dictionary, which is always a good place to start, it means representing one's true nature and beliefs. And so and that's what I always, that's probably about as far as I went, representing one's true nature and beliefs. And so as I have new beliefs, I feel like I represent those. And so when I learn about being authentic, I find that sharing those with the world is what I try to do. And so that's what I encourage other people to do, and that's what I've been taught all this time. And so I always interpreted authenticity as being honest, not telling lies. And so if I think other people are lying, I'll call them on it and say, I think you're not telling me the truth. And when I keep using the word I because this has been my experience, and so I'm wondering if maybe you've had the same experience, and that's why I'm sharing it with you this way, because I know that it's taught so often about being authentic, that coming from the heart and sharing our beliefs and not lying and letting ourselves be known in an intimate way, that's what being authentic, how it's been shared with me, and it's shared it many times. So all of this sounds very scholastic, and collegiate and that sort of thing. And so that's what I found as I started reading more about it too. It can be very scholastic and not very heart-based. And like I told you, that's how it came across when I first started studying it too. And so I just wanted to start learning more about it. And so that's what I did. And it was really interesting because as I started looking more, I found out, what it is and how to be authentic. And there's many authors out there that talk about it and ways to be authentic and how to be authentic. And one of the great teachers about authenticity is Gary Zukav. He wrote about The Seat of the Soul is his book. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but get it and read it if you haven't. The Seat of the Soul, Gary Zukav. And in that book, he talks about authentic power. And it's an amazing book to start off with, but this idea of authentic power is as you become more and more authentic, you develop empowerment in the world. And so he talks about the benefits of authentic power. He gives a list of the benefits of being authentic. And one of these is that developing a deeper love for yourself. Because as we're authentic, we have a deeper love for ourselves because we're at one with how we are in the world, and we appreciate that about ourselves. We discover that giving and receiving are the same thing because what we're giving out, we're getting back, right? We find meaning and purpose in our lives because we challenge, I don't want to say this, we challenge the fear-based parts of our lives, and so we start to find meaning as we do that. We find out that we're co-creator and clearer. We find out we're equal with everybody else. And then the one that is strongest for me is that we find out we find real courage. You know, we find out how to be in the world, and we find out that we have real courage to do. We find out courage to live. We find out how to be in the world. And so that whole idea of authentic power and those benefits really gives me the impetus to start learning more and being more authentic in the world. And so what are the signs of being authentic? I mean, how can you tell if it's happening? How do I know if I'm being authentic? Well, you start feeling connected. One of these is the first one. You start feeling connected with your soul, with your own divinity. You start being able to feel it. Because as we mentioned before, as you start feeling clearer and clearer, you feel connected to your own divinity. You start being aligned with your deepest needs and values. You start knowing what those needs are, and you feel connected with them. That's one benefit. That's one way of knowing. You regularly experience yourself. Now that's something that's kind of it's an interesting thing to say it that way. You experience yourself. You're clear enough to know what's happening with yourself. Instead of living out there all the time in the world, you're experiencing yourself. Again, because you're clear enough, you're authentic enough to know what's happening with yourself. You start to understand your role in life, your place. Where am I? What am I supposed to be? You start, again, knowing where you stand in the world. You find out your purpose. You learn about your purpose. And you're not really interested in fitting in with everyone else because you do know your own purpose. You know your own role. So you don't need to fit in somewhere else. So it's just, I guess, to sum it all up, you just find out you're a strong, courageous person on your own. So these are signs that you know that you're living an authentic life. And so this is just a sampling. Like I said, I kind of expanded my awareness as I started reading and learning about this. These are just samples of ideas and ways to tell or know and outpicture being authentic in the world. Henry David Thoreau writes, "We are constantly invited to be who we are." I love that because every moment we're constantly invited to be a little more of who we are, being a little bit more authentic. And that's not always to say that it's easy, because sometimes it's not, sometimes it is. And sometimes it's helpful to gauge it from the other side of the coin. You know, it's one way to say these positive ideas of how am I being authentic from the positive direction. Sometimes it's easier to go, how do I know when I'm not being authentic? Well, a few of those ideas are, if I'm procrastinating, I'm likely not being authentic. If I'm judging, if I feel judgmental, maybe I have insecurities or resentments that are making me feel judgmental. Likely I'm not being authentic then. Maybe you're putting yourself last instead of first. Likely you're not being authentic then. Or if you're just glossing over some emotions that don't feel very good, probably you're not being authentic then. Or or if you're making excuses, all these kinds of things, if you're feeling those kind of negative aspects about your life or during your life, you're likely not feeling authentic, okay? Brene Brown, she writes, "To be authentic, we must cultivate the courage to be imperfect and to be vulnerable. We have to believe that we are fundamentally worthy of love and to be acceptable just as we are." So that's what comes with that courage. We find that we are acceptable just as we are. And so I wanted to give you one author's qualities that, as I said, there's many, many of them out there. But I just want to go through one person's that I really respected and loved the way he outlined the ideas of being authentic, the qualities, the way he did. Because I picked out, when reading this, a lot of them rang true for me, and they kind of hit me as being really strong ways to tell about being authentic. So his name is Ed Wallace, and you can look him up online if you want to know more about it. But he writes, one is self-awareness. Authentic people have self-awareness. They are people that know their strengths and weaknesses. They're accountable. They embrace their talents. Authentic people are willing to make unpopular decisions. And so all of those aspects of self-awareness. They're also willing to be vulnerable. They're open to knowing what their fears are. They're able to admit their failures. They tend to be emotionally stable. That doesn't mean they always have, what we call positive emotions. They have negative emotions too, but they're stable. They're able to be with their emotions, whatever they are. They're able to take positive and negative feedback. They share their truth with others. They're able to be authentic with other people. They have gratitude, okay? They're comfortable with giving praise and receiving negative feedback. And they listen to people. They listen to themselves and they listen to other people. They're open-minded. And so you get the idea here. They're willing to be with positive feedback, with negative situations, and they're able to be honest with all of this, to be open-minded, to be receiving and to be giving, and all of these arenas. They're authentic people are able to be real and present and accountable, and all of these qualities at the same time, and fully aware of all of them. And so it's a growing situation, growing in and through all of these things. And sometimes it's strong, sometimes it's lower, sometimes it's a full force all the time. And so recognize this about yourself. Grow into it. That's what I do. Just grow into it. Summing it up, authenticity is less about what you do and more about how you are. It's less about doing and more about being. That's what I would say. And so like I told you, there's a lot of different authors and a lot of different writers and a lot of different ways of thinking about it. I would invite you to go and do your own inquiries about authenticity, both in yourself and online, or libraries or books or whatever, maybe with each other, about what it is to be authentic, because it's a really personal topic. One quote that I found, Oprah Winfrey, she wrote, "I had no idea that being your authentic self could make me as rich as I've become. If I would have known that, I would have done it a little sooner." So, see, she's one of these people that's really, really real at all times in the moment, and I love that. She's great. So I think for me, I have nailed it. I have summarized it down to four points. First one is, I remember core concept 1, science of mind core concept 1, and that is God is all there is. That I am divine, everyone else is divine, spirit is in the midst of all things, and therefore everything is love. The universe is good, it's loving, it's kind, it's working together for me, for everyone else. And if I see and live from that worldview, then there's something strong and foundational that I'm living from. Secondly, I remember to be respectful of myself and others. Show respect and have respect for all of it, and live from that place, from a sense of having respect. Thirdly, to be present. Be present with the now. To be present with where I'm at, what I'm doing, with each other, and in all things. And fourth, to be open-minded. That is, to be open-minded to new ideas, to different opinions, to other people, to be flexible. And so from those four places, if I stay in those ideas, I feel that I can be an authentic person. And so to quote Sarah Brethnack says, "The authentic self is the soul made visible." And so that is what I've learned about authenticity. So let's pray. And so just knowing that in the very center of us all is that authentic space that is God, that is love, that is light, that is wholeness. And at the center of all of that is the truth of the one. So I give thanks for our time together today that has brought forward the sense of peace, the sense of grace that has allowed us to relax into the knowing that at the center of all things is spirit. And so I know today that everyone that is listening, that is in the sound of these words, that is living from that vision that God has for them, that God has for each of us, to live that full life, experienced and expressed as that call of our hearts, being that one divine expression, that one divine idea that is calling forward into the world, that great expression of life, touching and knowing each other as that one truth that is spirit. And so I know there is peace, there is power, there is abundance, there is that full sharing of that experience and expression of God in all things. And so I know it is that authentic expression that gives empowerment, that gives peace, that gives love in all things. And so I give thanks for all of this, and I simply let it be, and so it is. Thank you so much. Goodbye.